Hello, in this video I will be talking about customs that I made in the second half of 2022, customs that I completed and how I made them. If you'd like, there's another video that shows the customs that I made for the first half of 2022. First up is Abomination on the Gamerverse larger scale body with a custom head sculpt that came from eBay. Just a simple repaint for the most part. I messed around with some different layers of green paints just to try to get like a cooler look for him. I wanted him to be different from the Hulk greens. I really like the size of this upgrade, and I think that he looks awesome next to other Hulk characters. I was inspired by a lot of other customizers out there that I saw doing this, and I thought, yeah, that's something I gotta do. This one is definitely going to replace the Toy Biz Abomination finally on my display. Next up, I just did a couple simple repaints. I found an extra X-23 masked head, and I kind of was thinking about making the black and yellow look that's in the more recent comics that she has. And I thought maybe something that would help her blend into my New Mutants display. And after that, I did a White Tiger repaint on a Killmonger Panther body. I found a couple of white paints that I've been pretty happy with, and I feel like it's been making things a little bit easier, and I liked adding this guy in with some of my other Avengers. Next up was a pretty large task that I gave myself after seeing the RIOT reveal from Hasbro's 3-pack on the Amazon exclusive. I didn't really like that they put him on that monster Venom buck. I know a lot of people felt like a larger mold, I shouldn't say larger than that one, but a large mold like the Caliban might probably fit him a little bit better. So I took the Caliban mold and I started painting some highlight blues. I was going for the look more like I had pictured in my mind from the comics, where he's got like that gray, but he's got shades of blue sometimes. I thought it'd be kind of cool to draw some more attention to how many nice vein sculpts they have on that Caliban mold. I sculpted some crazy looking eyes on that creepy movie molten monster head. I know that some people were probably happy with the modern RIOT look, but I wanted the one that, you know, from the older comics where he was like that gray color, and the head sculpt had more of a different look with the teeth and everything. Next up was kind of an easy swap. I saw a couple of parts come together to make Isaiah Bradley. I picked up a loose G.I. Joe figure and a loose Captain America and just kind of blended them together. I sculpted the mask and decided to sculpt over that old Patriot shield to make like a worn shield look. Eventually I did find somebody on Etsy that was making the shield that I really wanted to have him hold on my display. I'm happy to add him in with what I call my alternate Avengers display. Next up was my biggest hit on Instagram for 2022. This was ABOMB. I had a lot of different reference images for him, and I just kept going back to the ones where he almost had like this metallic shine to him, and I thought that the blues could look pretty cool if I did that. I cut up the different armor parts off of the Armadillo Build-A-Figure, and I added the Armadillo arms and legs onto the old Abomination torso. I wanted the blues to have a little bit more depth, so I used a few different shades of blue and different mixes. I'm pretty happy to see another Hulk character fit in well with my display. After ABOMB, I picked up a loose House of X Wolverine and decided to try to make an Astonishing Wolverine after I saw the Heat Claw's Return of Wolverine figure. It wasn't quite the astonishing look, so I just repainted it, and I think it came out pretty good, and I was happy enough to update the old one that I had sitting with my Avengers. Next up was a project that I had sitting on my to-do list for a very long time. This lower snake torso was just sitting on my table for way too long. I figured it was time to add some magnets and get Bushmaster completed. I sculpted a midsection to give him a better transition from the lower to upper torso. That lower snake body actually came off of a weird, like, old Hercules figure. I believe I used the Scorpion torso because it has the lines, and those are Drax arms. I repainted the Drax head sculpt. I sculpted the claw parts that came off the arms, and I created like a long magnetic stem that kind of connects all the different parts so that they can all still swivel independently. I'm glad to add another Serpent Society member, and I was just about to start Puff Adder right after this guy, but then Hasbro announced that they're actually coming out with a Build-A-Figure, so I guess I might probably make some different Serpent Society members in 2023. After I finished with Bushmaster, I was looking at my West Coast Avengers display, and I thought it might be cool to add in a modern Hawkeye. I used that one that they had released with the Return of Marvel Legends as my inspiration. I got this really cool bow off of a guy on Etsy, and the bow actually holds an arrow and has like moving parts to it. It's just a Fantastic Four torch body that I repainted with a Cyclops head that I painted. I like the way that he fits in with the West Coast display. Another old figure on my display in desperate need of an update, Doc Samson. I had some parts that I figured could come together pretty nicely to update Doc. I liked the t-shirt mold that we got with Maggot. That's the Thor head that we've all seen before, and the lower legs swapped over from Hercules. I'm pretty happy with how he came out, and he feels just a bit more modern. Came out, looking pretty good with other Hulk figures. Next up after Doc Samson was Werewolf by Night. We had just finished watching the Disney Plus Halloween special, and I really liked it a lot, and I was inspired to maybe add a comic version into like my Midnight Suns and Street Heroes display. It took me a while, but I finally got hold of a loose Jackal figure, and I swapped in the thighs from Legion. I sculpted the torn parts on the pants and painted them. I think it came out pretty good. The Puma head had worked out better than I expected. Next up was a figure that I had in the back of one of my displays that was in big need of an update, SKAAR. This was probably my favorite custom of 2022. I loved adding the different pieces to him to bring it all together. I'm a big fan of the AOA Sabretooth body and the arm size. I had a random Korg Build-A-Figure arm guard that I thought fit nicely. I modified the belt strap from Hercules so that he could hold weapons, and the belt kilt parts came from the Build-A-Figure Odin. I sculpted the boot parts, and the hair was a blend of Thor and sculpted parts onto a Warpath head that I had to modify. I got some cool weapons out of a discounted He-Man pack. I used a lighter green to shade different parts on him, kind of like a throwback to that original figure. I really like the way he looks in with the Dark Avengers team. Next up, I finally decided that it might be time to update my old Toy Biz Green Goblin, since the retro Green Goblin wasn't really the colors that I was looking for. I picked up a custom head sculpt that I really like the look of, and I repainted it for my replacement. I gave him the better glider and a cool pumpkin belt that I had in my fodder. And I like the way he looks with my other goblins and on my Spider-Man display. Another upgrade in desperate need. I saw a lot of people saying that the T-Bird figure probably should have been just a little bit bigger. Pretty simple upgrade to a larger body here, just some of his parts swapped over. I remember last year, right around the same time, I upgraded Warpath, which was pretty cool. Now both brothers feel much better scaled. My Marvel Legends Quake figure had just come in, and I was working on making my Force Works team for one of my displays, and I realized that I needed a more modern looking US agent. I just did a little part swapping with an old Captain America figure and some of my fodder parts. The head was Guardian repainted. I like this different look for him in with my Force Works. I still have the classic US agent in with my West Coast team, and then the Return of Marvel Legends US agent I put in with my Thunderbolts display. My last custom for 2022, MAN-APE. This is what I think the Build-A-Figure should have been in one of those Black Panther waves. I can't even remember what the Build-A-Figure is from the first Black Panther wave. but I think the second Build-A-Figure was a Tuma. I wish it was a comic Atuma. But anyways, this was an idea that I had seen done by a few different customizers that had used the Sasquatch body. It may have been easier to use like a Wendigo body, but I got a really good deal on a Sasquatch. I sculpted some of the bones and claws for the belt. I used a wire necklace and added beads onto stretchy wire, soft goods fabric for his loincloth, and the Age of Apocalypse Colossus hands. The head sculpt was hard to find, but when it came back into stock on eBay, I grabbed one right away. I'm very happy with how he came out. I saw some images where he's got like grays under some whites, and I wanted to try a lighter white paint mixture over some grays. I like how it looks, and I'm glad it doesn't look like the Wendigo or the Zemnu figure. So that's it for the second half of 2022. Like I mentioned earlier, I do have a video for the first half of 2022, other customs that I made, so go check that out. Just want to thank everybody for the support, and a special shout out to all the fellow customizers in this community. Some really great people who I bother all the time with weird questions, and they always very politely tell me that I'm crazy, but they're always willing to help me out, so shout out to those guys. Happy New Year, everybody, and let's move on to 2023. I'm hoping to make a lot of cool stuff next year, so stay tuned. Please like and subscribe.